Do you have a ruler? Do you have a ruler that has both inches and centimeters on there? If not, I'll try to put one up on the screen for you, see if my camera's working today. Perfect. So there's a ruler if you don't have your own ruler, and that ruler has inches and centimeters, and we have the inches along the bottom and centimeters along the top. So if we looked at where 1 inch ended and how many centimeters that would be, what would you estimate it to be? What does it look like, or is that too far? 2.5. About 2.5. So from our ruler, we can estimate that 1 inch is approximately 2.5 centimeters. Now, we're going to find out that in reality it is exactly 2.54 centimeters. So we started converting in the metric system where things were really nice with tens. Then we went to the imperial system where the conversions weren't as nice because we had like 12 inches in a foot and like how many feet, how many yards in a mile? 7. No, that's feet. 1760 yards in a mile, and that's 5280 feet in a mile. So the numbers weren't nice, but at least they were whole numbers. And now we're going to start converting where the numbers aren't nice and they're decimals. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. And notice how here I used an approximation sign because that was approximately 2.5, and here I use an equal sign because that's an exact value. So exact values are better because then you're really precise. Approximations are good because if someone said, well, how much is 3 inches? You'd say about 7.5 centimeters. And that would be close enough. So we have our conversion table. Now your textbook, whereas I'm going to mainly use this because once you get to the grade 12 IB course, the IB curriculum uses that as their approximation sign. The textbook uses a different approximation sign, which is the equal sign with a dot on top. They mean the same thing. I don't know the history of why there's more than one approximation sign. Maybe different countries decided to use different things, and then over time, just 2 have been accepted. So we have a bunch of conversions. We have 1 inch is approximately 2.5, exactly what you've guessed from looking at the ruler. And then we have a bunch of other ones as well. If you're going from feet to centimeters, a foot is approximately 30 centimeters. 1 yard is approximately 90 centimeters, or 0.9 meters, and so on and so forth. And 1 mile is approximately 1.6 kilometers, and 1 kilometer is 0.6 of a mile. So these are all approximations. However, whenever possible, it is nice to use exact values. And so we have these exact values as well. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. 1 yard is exactly 91.44 centimeters. What, did it not print on yours?
I don't think so.
It did.
Oh, it's there. Is it? Oh, here it is. I see it now. Never mind.
Canadian football field is approximately 59 meters wide. What is that measurement to the nearest foot? And here we're going to want to approximate first. So when we're approximating, we can use anything in that shaded box that we had. And then we're going to find it out exactly. And we're going to see how close are the approximations that they give us, and what is the actual final answer. Oh, we're going to have some fun. Okay, so 59 meters, you want to convert it to feet. So one thing you can do here is you can look at 59 meters equals how many feet, and see if on our sheet we have anything from meters to feet. Okay? And we have two of them. We have 1 meter is, in one place they have 1 meter equals 3 1/4. Are you okay if I change that 3 1/4 to a decimal? 3.25. Okay? In one place we have 1 meter equals 3.25 feet. In another place we have 1 foot equals 0.3 meters. Okay? They both can be used as approximations. How can they both be used? Which one should you use? How would you go about using them? Well, at the top of your chart, it says the reason they give you two is to make your life easier. They say if you want to convert from standard units to imperial units, and that's what we're doing here, we're going from standard to imperial, they would suggest using this one. Why is this one a nice one to use? Well, we can use the same technique that we've used before. If I have 1 meter is this, and I want to know what 59 meters is, right, what would I have to do? I would have to multiply by 59. And that makes your life easy because you would do the same thing on this side. Multiply by 59. Take out our calculator. And 59 times 3.25 equals 191.75. Okay? The one reason that I like the textbook's approximation sign is in this particular example, because you are not used to using approximation signs. And so what happens when we did everything so far? Did I use any approximation signs? No, because I forgot. And I've used approximation signs millions of times more than we probably have. And I still forget to do them. So the textbook approximation sign, oh yeah, these were approximations. And you can just nicely add the dot, because you will forget, and then you can just add it afterwards. Okay? Once I get to the higher IB levels and I have to do the squiggle brackets, then my approximation sign is like, oh yeah, okay, yep. Just will go over top and squiggle them afterwards.
Extra smooth.
It's, yeah, just like you couldn't tell that that happened poorly to begin with. Okay? That will happen to you. So you can choose whether you want to just put the dot over top.
Attention all occupants.
Oh yeah, we're in a lockdown.
Attention all occupants.
This is practice.
This is a lockdown order. This facility is now...
All right, we are back, and we just figured out 59 meters is 109.75 feet as an approximation using the first one. And we use the first one because that is an easier one to use. The second one, not so easy, but it could still be used. Take out your calculator and see if you can use the 0.3 to get from meters to feet. I'm going to change the color of this. To black, and then I'll do 59 meters is approximately how many feet, did you come up with something that gave you something similar using the 0.3? And in this case, you would have to divide by the 0.3. And if I take 59 meters and I divide by the 0.3, my calculator tells me 196.7. That answer is not the same as 191.75. So the problems with the problem with approximations is depending on which approximation you use, you might get a different estimate. And here, our two estimates are fairly different. If you think about 192 feet compared to 197 feet, that's off by this much, 5 feet. Now you ask, well, Mr. JR, what happens if I use this one? Which one do I have to use on the test? Because I'm afraid I'll get, is one of them wrong? No. Because you've used an approximation, you would have to show your work, say, I used this one, and this is the answer that I got. Yes?
Wait, so on a problem, on a test, if we got it within a certain range, we would get the mark?
No. You would have to get either this approximation exactly or this approximation exactly. Okay? Because they're using the values that were on our formula sheet. Okay? But depending on which one you use, we do get different answers. So that's why this question says approximate first to get an idea, and now we're going to try and figure out what this is exactly. Now the only things we have for exact values are inches to centimeters or yards to centimeters. And in this question, we have meters and feet. So we have to do a few more conversions. So I'm going to put a line here. I'm going to label this now. How are we going to figure out the exact value? Yeah?
Well, first we need to convert 59 meters into centimeters.
We could do that. So one way we could do that is saying 59 meters is equal to 5,900 centimeters. That's exact.
Now we can divide that number by 2.54
Cool. So
that we get the inches, and then divide that number by 12 to get the feet.
So we know that 1 centimeter is 2.54 inches. So if I want to figure out...
No, the other way around. 1 inch.
Yeah, thank you. 1 inch. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So if I have 5,900 centimeters and I want to find out how many inches that is, I am going from the small one, centimeters are smaller because you need more of them to equal inches, to the big one. So we've sort of had two different techniques that we've used throughout our conversions, and we've seen that sometimes one works a lot better and sometimes we have to use the other one. It's kind of frustrating because we'd like one thing that always works, but this is a good example in math where sometimes there's one method that works better than another method. In this case, if I'm going from a small item to a big one, you need less of the big one to make them equal. And so what Andre said is now I'm going to take that 5,900 and divide it by 2.54 because I'll need less of them, so then I'll divide. So 5,900 divided by 2.54 is equal to 2322.83 ... It keeps on going. This, I'm going to pull this up on the calculator as well so you can see it. 5,900 divided by 2.54, and we get this answer. Now with our calculator, what's really nice is it remembers all the decimal places. So even though I sort of just wrote ... to say it continued on, my calculator has all of those decimals remembered. And now our end goal is to figure out how many feet there is, and I know that I have 2,322.83 inches, ... So again, this is the small one, this is the big one. I'm going to need less of them. I know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot, so I'm going to divide.
Wouldn't it make sense to just use the whole number instead of decimals? Because like 8 tenths of an inch aren't going to make a difference.
No, but we're trying to make things exact as we go along, because we're trying to find an exact value. So as soon as we round, we're no longer on an exact value. So now I go back to my calculator, and I divide by 12. So I can just hit the divide sign, it automatically pulls up my answer. I divide by 12, and I get 193.56955538. Now I haven't rounded yet on my calculator, so all of these decimal places are correct. But when I do go and write out, I forgot all the numbers, 193.569. When I do go to write this answer down, if I wanted to round to 1 decimal place or to the nearest foot, then I would have to change my sign to an approximation sign. But the nice thing about this number here is we know that those are all correct. Compare it to what we had before, 191.8 and 196.7. Okay? The exact answer is 193.6. The exact answer rounded. The other ones were just good guesses. The nice thing about the good guesses is they were a lot less work. And so if they're considered accurate enough, if you just want to get an idea of what something is, then that's fine. But if you want an exact value, you have to do extra conversions first to figure that out. Which one's better? Obviously, the exact value is much more accurate. After meeting in Vancouver, Ryan decided to drive north, and that's still within Canada, so he used kilometers. And Winona drove south, which made her go into the United States, so she used miles. Who drove further, and by how much? Again, depending on which approximation you use, you will get slightly different answers. And that's okay. That's accepted within this unit, that sometimes if we're using approximations, we'll get slightly different answers. So I'm going to do this question. I'm going to split my page in half and show you that you could do this in different ways. One way would be to convert everything to kilometers. So if I'm converting everything to kilometers, I need to know how much 68 miles is in kilometers. And I'm going from the imperial system to the metric system. So when looking at my chart of values, I would use the second column, because at the top of the second column, right here on this page, it says Imperial to standard unit, to your metric system. So going down on here, I find out 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. So I write that down. To help me, I'm going to be using 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. So if I want to find 68 miles, I just need to multiply by 68. So 1.6 multiplied by 68 is 108.8. And put a dot over top of that equal sign because I've approximated. Who drove further? We've converted everything to kilometers. Ryan drove further by, and if we figure out the difference between, what did he go, 114? By 5.2 kilometers. So you could decide to compare them by converting everything to kilometers. As Canadians, this is what we would do, because most Canadians, especially younger Canadians, are more used to kilometers than they are to miles. Now, if your friend from the United States was doing this same question, they would probably convert everything to miles. So that and they would start off with Ryan's 114 kilometers and say, how many miles would that be? And this time, we're converting from the metric system to the imperial system. So when we go back to our chart, metric system to imperial is our first column, and we go down and we find out 1 kilometer is 0.6 miles. Oh, I forgot the dot on that one. See, always forget that approximation symbol. And so I would need to multiply 114 by 0.6. 114 by 0.6. $68.4. So Ryan drove 68.4 miles. Comparing this to Winona, Ryan drove further, so we get the same answer by how much of a difference? 0.4 miles. That should be a little confusing. Okay? Again, it shows the dangers of approximations. How can 0.4 be the same as 5.2?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's not. Okay? I would love, you know what? I can honestly say I feel that I am faster than all of you. You guys have to run 5.2 kilometers. I have to run 0.4 miles. We'll have a race. I'm going to win. Because 0.4 miles is a lot less than 5.2 kilometers. The dangers of approximations. The 1.6 and the 0.6 are decent approximations, but they're not exact. And as a result, as the numbers get bigger, your answers get further and further off. Yes?
Do we have the exact numbers in there, like, for more than just centimeters?
We don't have them here. I mean, you can look them up. I think exactly 1 kilometer is 0.602. That's what number comes to my head. It might be totally off. It might be 0.621.
1 kilometer is 0.621.
Oh, 621. See, I had it in there somewhere, but not exact. So the fact that we're using 0.6 instead of 0.62 makes a big difference when you do it over and over again. So you can look those things up on the internet and find more exact values. The ones that we have on our formula sheet are only in inches and centimeters. So technically, you could take 114 kilometers, change that to meters, which would be 114,000 meters. Okay? Change that to centimeters, which would be 11,400,000 centimeters. Multiply that by, or divide that by 2.54 to find out how many inches, and then take all those inches and slowly convert them back to miles. It's a long process because you have to do 3 things within the metric system and then 3 things within the imperial system, and you'll get it. But looking up on the internet a decimal that's more exact for kilometers to miles, like 0.621, is even better. Yes?
Don't different calculators have different amount of decimal points?
Yes.
Does it mean that different people get different results for the same calculation?
Yes. However, most calculators have enough decimal places that for what you're doing, you will never see the difference in your calculations. Here's a very typical one. Laura, 5'7". How tall is she in centimeters? And in this question, the fact that the question has the word exact in it means that we have to use an exact value. So first of all, I'm going to figure out how many inches is that in total. Well, if 1 foot is 12 inches, how much is 5 feet? 60. And what have we done? We've multiplied by 5, so I multiply by 5 on this side, so 5 feet is 60 inches. So if you're 5'7", you're 60 inches here plus another 7 inches, you're 67 inches tall. And now we want to figure out 67 inches is how many centimeters. And we know exactly that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So if we want to find 67 inches, we're going to have to multiply. And so this person would be exactly 170.18 centimeters tall. Now your job is to figure out your own height. If your own height happens to be 5'7", you go, I don't have to do anything. Yes, you still have to do 6 feet instead.
I don't know my height.
If you don't know your height, then you look like you're 5, I don't know, we'll say he looks 5'9". There we go.
Alright.
Do you know how tall you are in centimeters?
No.
No. You just don't know those things. So. Other personal facts you do know? Name? Good. Oh, I'm still recording. Oh. All right, so figure out your own height. All right, how did you do on your last examples? So I'm going to do these quick because you were doing them on your own. 2 feet 9 inches, that is 33 inches. And then 33 inches, you would multiply by 2.54. 83.82 centimeters exactly. Okay? I didn't show all of the extra conversion stuff on the side. That is still nice things to do for work. Hopefully you did that, but I'm just showing you the answers for these ones because you've done them on your own. 8 yards, 2 feet, and 8 inches. So first of all, I would convert this all to inches. And I get 320 inches. Does that match up with what you got? Okay? And then I would take that 320 inches and convert it to centimeters because I have the 2.54. So 320 inches is 812.8 centimeters. And from there, I could convert 812 centimeters to meters by just moving the decimal place. And we get 8.128 meters. Excellent. So, questions on page 22 are for practicing converting between the two.